Hi, everybody. It's David Zink along with Kim Pearsall. We're here to mind your business for a Tuesday?
Tuesday, it is.
We missed Monday.
So that's why we're catching up today.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. How you doing today, Kim?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good. What do we got on the slate for today?
Got a few stories on the agenda for tomorrow's edition. We're looking at hotels and the fact that the number of foreclosed hotels in Riverside County and San Bernardino County, as well as statewide, still increasing on a regular pace. And then finally, taxes. The Internal Revenue Service is going to implement a one-time relief program for nonprofits, so we'll have more information on it. Also, technology. There is a new Blackberry out.
Yay!
Mr. iPhone fan. And finally, catching up on some of the stories that appeared in today's edition that we were working on Monday. Mainly, Ontario Airport control is up in the air. Also, the manufacturing index rose, which is always a good sign. And then BB&K lawyer resigned. So kind of an interesting story there.
That's a very interesting story. It's been kind of building up for about a week, and now it looks like it's come to a head, I guess you'd say.
True.
So what do we have first? Hotels?
Correct. Yeah, hotels. There are a number of foreclosed hotels in Riverside and San Bernardino counties, and this has been on the rise since about the beginning of 2009. And so it's nearly double what it was in the second quarter of 2009, according to a recent study by Atlas Hospitality Group. So this isn't really a problem that's been relegated just to the housing market. A lot of commercial lenders are now finding out that the folks who they lent to can't really afford to make the payments on some of their commercial properties, because a lot of people had kind of overestimated the value for hotels at the time, and now they're worth maybe half, if they're lucky, what they originally paid to finance to build a hotel or to buy a hotel.
Well, and you spoke of last week of is it the Ritz that fell kind of backwards and then came forward, and the people who originally started developing the Ritz out in the desert, they came back and actually bought it again out of foreclosure, correct?
True, and the Ritz-Carlton Rancho Mirage is an interesting story because, it was closed for, I think, at least 2 years or so. So I don't know if it would actually be included in this survey, and I haven't seen it listed there. So that's an additional foreclosed hotel, technically, in Riverside County. But yeah, there's been quite a few issues where lenders have just fallen through. And in the Ritz's case, they were entirely financed by Lehman Brothers. And so when Lehman Brothers collapsed, well, their project kind of collapsed. And it was basically construction had halted the day that Lehman Brothers went under.
Well, and I kind of just take that as an example of how kind of volatile that market is, actually, that commercial real estate segment of hotels and all seems kind
very much so. Well,
it's all over the place.
Yeah, and hotels go through extreme ups and downs.
Right.
It's a roller coaster ride because, when things are fantastic and people are spending $300 a pop to stay overnight somewhere, then it's all well and good. But in this day and age, folks aren't doing that.
Scraping dimes. Okay, and then next up we got taxes. IRS offers relief for nonprofits.
Correct. Yes, the IRS is helping out the nonprofits. They are implementing a one-time relief program, and this is aimed at small nonprofit organizations who didn't file returns in 2007, 2008, and 2009. They are at risk for losing their tax-exempt status if they don't make those filings. So that's why the IRS is giving them one last opportunity to do so. So just in case.
Interesting, but even more interesting, a new Blackberry.
Correct.
I see that United Arab Emirates doesn't allow it there. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on with that.
Yeah, apparently the United Arab Emirates is not keen on the Blackberry because they object to its security precautions. So kind of interesting there, and they could ban it. Apparently they're trying to ban the Blackberry in the United Arab Emirates. But in other news, Research in Motion, which is the maker of the Blackberry, this is the first time in a while that a new Blackberry model has come out. It's a new operating system. It's apparently the first time in which there's a keyboard and a touchscreen all in one phone. So that's what AT&T as well as BlackBerry is lauding right now, is the fact that this is new on the market. It's a new version of the BlackBerry that people might not be expecting.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because now you see this whole smartphone market really heating up because you've got 3-4 different contenders out there now with different phones, and you're getting to see how consumers are starting to move to either one or the other. I know my daughters just got each got a BlackBerry, and they seem to like the BlackBerry better than an iPhone. They had the option for either one, but I guess it's a matter of preference or taste.
Well, and granted, every 3 months or so they come out with a new smartphone and they say, "Oh, this one's going to be a game changer."
Right.
But this one in particular, they're pointing out the fact that all of these new amenities could really make it a game changer because they are still vying vying for that corporate market. And a lot of the corporate market has been usurped by the iPhone and the Androids. So, yeah, we'll see if this works out for them.
And then finally today, we're catching up a little bit. Ontario Airport, I know you were out at a LAWA meeting at LAX yesterday.
Correct.
And then you also had PMI, and also we'll talk about the lawyer from BBK.
Right, yeah, there were a few items that appeared in today's edition, and yesterday, like you mentioned, I was at the Los Angeles World Airports Board of Airport Commissioners meeting. They have them monthly. This month, they focused on a study that they conducted to look at management options for Ontario Airport. And this was particularly interesting because for the past couple months now, the City of Ontario has been vying to obtained control of the airport in one way or another. So they've talked about controlling it outright. They've talked about other options. So it's been pretty vague, just the fact that the City of Ontario essentially wants their airport back. It's been operated and managed by the City of Los Angeles since 1967. And so, what the City of LA is now saying is they might be amenable to ceding control. They will not, though, sell the airport. That's at least what Mayor Villaraigosa's office is saying, is that is off the table.
Well, and I also heard that the one big takeaway that you had was the fact that the board, the directors, didn't actually quite understand how much of a loss in passenger traffic Ontario's had. You said it came almost as a shock to them.
Well, it's pretty interesting, and I didn't get into it in the story too much, but it was a takeaway that I noticed from the meeting itself, is that these Board of Airport Commissioners, which are all made up of LA denizens, residents, they're movers and shakers in the city of LA, were almost shocked and surprised by the steep passenger losses that have been occurring at Ontario Airport. And granted, it isn't the first they've heard of it, but they did seem noticeably surprised and shocked and were wondering what kind of methods have been taking place or what kind of options had been looked at. They even suggested, well, why don't we close another terminal? Well, that's easier said than done, and that would cause this massive ripple effect, I think, in the city of Ontario if there were to be an entire terminal closed. So different things like that. It just seemed like they were a little surprised by what had been going on, even though it's been going on for about 3 years now.
I think out of touch is the better word to describe that. If you don't know what's going on and you're on a board of something, that you don't know what's going on at one of the properties of that something you're on the board of, I'm going to have to say that you're out of touch. So obviously that just kind of speaks for the overall picture as to how Ontario's being, if you ask me.
And that's your characterization, right?
Yes, exactly. Personally, my opinion. But okay, moving forward. So with PMI, it went up after we took kind of a deep dip last month. We got down to about just over 50, and now we're back up to 51.9, which is a little bit of a dip from last year. I think about 1.7% down. But it still looks pretty good. It's going in the right direction again. Exactly,
and it is a closely watched barometer for the economy here in the Inland Empire. So yeah, like you said, it rose to 51.9 in July from 50.2 in the previous month. So whenever it's above 50, that level suggests that the factory sector is expanding. So always a good sign. And I think that it has been above 50 for 10 consecutive months.
It was the 10th consecutive month.
So that's a good sign. Whenever we see a dip, it's a little bit of a worry. So it was good to see it go up in July.
Always on the positive. And then finally, my favorite, everybody's seen the whole happenings down in the city of Bell with their city attorney and their city manager and their mayor and the council people and now their city attorney.
Well, just to sum it up a smidge too, yeah, their city manager and their city council were getting paid quite a bit of money to run and oversee the city of Bell, which is, I think, the poorest city in LA County.
And it only about a mile and a half in diameter or something like that?
Correct. It's a very small community and very poor community. And so they were being paid outrageous amounts because they're a charter community, and essentially they were allowed to do so. But they're looking into the legalities of this right now.
Right.
Interestingly enough, and if you want to continue, Dave.
Well, the Best and Krieger, which has a firm in Riverside, and they're all throughout Southern California. One of their, he was a, what did I say earlier?
He was the city attorney of Bell and then also of Downey, which is interesting.
And he joined them in 2006 and became a partner. And now he's just resigned from Best and Krieger to stick with the city of Bell, which kind of says a lot for the guy. At least he's trying to stick with a bad situation. But they kind of seem to be distancing themselves from him. Yeah, and the bad publicity that goes along with it.
There was an official statement that came out from BB&K yesterday from Eric Gardner, who's the managing partner over there, laying out what was going to happen and that he was going to be staying with Bell and so forth. But definitely in between the lines, it does seem like BB&K is distancing themselves at this point because their name kept being brought up in this whole circumstance. It's been making all of the news rounds, what's been going on in Bell. And the city of Downey, I think, actually fired or dismissed or did something getting rid of Ed Lee, who was the lawyer for them as well. So now he is apparently just the city attorney for Bell. I'm not sure if he's city attorney for any other cities, but BB&K still is the city attorney for quite a few other inland cities as well as other Southern California cities.
Which the one point that was really interesting, my wife and I were talking, was I didn't know that I thought city attorneys were hired by the city, and now they're, I guess in a sense, they're contracted by the city and sometimes go through a law firm, which we were like, what? How does that work? Because I thought they were sole, they basically were fiduciary responsibility was sold to the city, and it didn't seem like that's the case all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of circumstances, too, where in this case as well with Lee, they serve multiple cities. Right. So, yeah, not just one.
Well, Kim, that's a lot of stuff to catch up on. Thank you so much for your patience, and we'll get back to it again tomorrow on a daily basis. But for Kim Pearsall, I'm David Zink reminding you to mind your business, and we'll see you on Wednesday.